do this. I got myself a nice iced coffee. Very needed on a day like this, I warn you. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I have been in one of the worst writing ruts over the last couple of months, and I don't really know why, outside of just generally being preoccupied with life and work and existence. Thankfully, I've got many years of writing under my belt, so I know exactly what it takes to get myself out of a writing rut. It's just easier said than done, and it's kind of extensive. If there's one thing that I definitely know to be true about myself as a creative, it's that my creative energy is 100% surplus energy. So if I'm feeling depleted, anxious, tired, fatigued, how many synonyms can I use to convey being tired? I think it's a knee-jerk reaction for a lot of us creatives to be startled by the fact that all of a sudden we're not creating, or we're not creating as much as we'd like to be creating, or the quality of our work is all of a sudden going down, and to think, I'm just gonna sit down and force myself to do this. I'm gonna force myself to write, I'm gonna count my word count, I'm gonna do this many words for this many days. That is a textbook way of treating a symptom rather than the cause. If you're not writing, there is a reason for it. I would like to validate that experience. It's not because you're lazy. It's not because all of a sudden you've lost that creative side of yourself. It's usually because you have unmet needs. If creative energy is surplus energy, which it is for me, and I think it is for a lot of people, then usually you have to replenish those creative reserves. So for me, there are a couple of things that work without error. They never let me down as far as getting myself out of one of these creative ruts is concerned. It's really quite as simple as going out and touching grass, as some people might say. There's something about spending time in nature without a time limit and often in silence that just gets the creative juices flowing in ways literally nothing else does. Sometimes I will listen to music, but I think the more important aspect is to make sure you're not going to be interrupted. Unfortunately, we live in a day and age where I think more often than not, we're teetering on the cusp of overwhelm. And I think prioritizing time outside, alone, often in silence, is just literally the last thing on most of our lists. But to me, I can't look at it that way. I need to look at that time in nature, that time spent refilling my creative well, as an absolute necessity. It is as important as eating and drinking and sleeping for me. I actually have a really good microphone, and of course I wouldn't think to bring it today. I just thought I would come out and capture some of my morning. Nature is probably the most reliable place for me to find inspiration and to activate that creative energy. Today, ambience-wise, it isn't ideal because there are a lot of people doing some work on the park next to this river. You can't hear the leaf blowers and whatnot. They're there. Usually this place is very calm, very serene, very quiet, and that is why I like to come out here. There's not a single person around. The only thing I ever bring is my journal. The point of coming out to a place like this for me is to just allow my thoughts to run and to follow them wherever they go. And I think in order to allow yourself to do that, you have to get yourself into an environment where you're not overstimulated and where you're not going to be interrupted and where there aren't people needing things from you all the time. And that's really hard to come by at this day and age. For me, the best way to do that is to just come out and enjoy nature, sit here quietly by the river, jot down some notes, some creative ideas, allow my stream of consciousness to go, to run, and to follow it really wherever it takes me. And that never, ever lets me down. It's a beautiful day. I'm definitely sweaty. It's definitely a little bit humid, but it's beautiful out here, and I think I got exactly what I needed.
awake on the floor, looking up, wanting more. This is so unreal. I must have been wrong, 'cause your love is strong for him. Why would it not be? He's always there for you.
Hello. It is storming outside. It's beautiful. I love it. However, I do slightly resent the bad lighting in here because I really wanted to have better lighting for filming, but it is what it is, and I can't postpone this conversation any longer than I already have because it has been 2 months. I had really hoped that I'd be able to sit down with you guys today and have this check-in where I could report that I successfully pulled myself out of a creative rut and was back to writing on a daily basis. And unfortunately, I can't report that. Not only can I not report that, but I have to report the opposite, which is that after about 11 or 12 days, I relapsed and fell right back into a creative rut, and I haven't written anything since then. It's probably been about a month and a half, a little longer than that. It's not ideal. It's not ideal. However, I'm a firm believer that there is always a silver lining, and the silver lining to this situation is that I think finally I can acknowledge the root cause behind all of this. And I've long suspected what this root cause might be. I just haven't wanted to acknowledge it because it's not something that's wholly under my control. I'll just tell you what it is. It's my job. If you don't know, I am a book editor. I have been a book editor for well over 10 years. I started my own company in 2017. I went full-time in 2019. And honestly, it has been one of the best things that has ever happened to me. I truly cannot emphasize that enough. Being a book editor enabled me to live nomadically for 3 years and travel all across the West Coast to live in so many different places. It liberated me of the 9-to-5 lifestyle that I had been chained to for many years. And so I'm not complaining about being an editor. I love being an editor. However, I don't think I can deny that it sucks up all of my creative energy, and I can't seem to balance it with my own creative projects. So if I have a big project cross my desk, which more often than not, they are big because I specialize in developmental editing. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically the most editorial intervention that you can hire somebody for. I can't even begin to describe what a developmental edit is like. It is extremely intense. You guys hear that thunder? Wow. Additionally, when I'm working on a client's project, I really want to immerse myself in it. I want to make sure that I'm not getting it confused with another book I'm reading. So I won't read recreationally when I'm editing. And that also means I don't really want to focus on my book because I might be crossing my wires between the two. What I've learned is that I need to actually sit down and really strategize about what I'm going to do in the future to create more work-life balance, because if I ever want to be a full-time author, this really needs to stop. With that being said, I have the next month off Like, just allow that to sink in. I have a month off. That's a lot of time. I fully intend to focus all of that time on rebounding with this manuscript. I want to catch up to where I was. I want to gain traction. I want to finish this book before the end of the year. That's ultimately the goal. I also really need to get back on social media. This is a whole other conversation. I have been MIA for about a year now, and I tend to do that. I just can't seem to gain traction on socials either, but I need to figure that out if I ever want to sell books. That's also a necessary reality. I plan to talk more about my drafting process in a future video, but for now I will confirm that I am indeed working on the sequel to my one and only published book, which is good old When Stars Burn Out. If you haven't read this book, I encourage you to read it if you like post-apoc, dystopian vibes. I have been recently approached by quite a few readers who have told me that this book is actually adult and not upper YA. So right now it's marketed as upper YA, but there's a lot of mature content in this book, not in the way of spice, but in the way of accurately portraying a post-apocalyptic environment. The sequel does not get any better, so I do think I will probably list these as adult. We'll see. Again, that's a conversation for another video. For now, all you really need to know is that I have final drafted the first 500 pages of the sequel, and now I'm working on the final 200 pages of that draft. So the end is in sight. These next 200 pages were written in 2020 before I even really knew the ending of the book. I was still searching for it. So there's a lot of exposition. There's a lot of unnecessary twists and turns. I think that when I go back and refine these next 200 pages, they will hopefully be condensed down to maybe 150. The book is long. There's no way I can get out of it. I have tried to make it shorter. It is impossible. With that being said, the idea that I only have 150 pages left before I can call this book final drafted is mind-blowing and so refreshing, and I'm just so excited. I'm so excited. Can I do all of that in a month? I don't know. I don't think so, because unfortunately, of the next 200 pages, I think I'm going to scrap about 80%. Then I'm going to be rewriting a lot of new material. So we'll see how it goes. As long as I finish this book once and for all before the end of the year, I will be happy.
Free flowing, sailing with the wind, not knowing how this story ends. Kind and brave,
conclude this vlog or it's probably gonna go on forever. Some goals aren't permanently achievable. They are just temporary. And I'm realizing that this work-life balance pursuit that I've been on for years now is one of those things. It's just forever going to be a journey. Can I get better at the balancing act? Yes. Does that mean that I'm going to forever avoid falling into that trap that I've fallen into a number of times before where I lose balance and fall? Unfortunately, no. And I think it took actually recording and documenting this journey for me to even realize this in full measure, because it's really easy for the days to just slip by and you keep thinking, I'll do better tomorrow, I'll do better next week, next month. This video has shown me that I've been working on this for months. I have made massive strides in the right direction, but even my go-to things that work for me, that help me feel more balanced, are not a panacea for this situation. They are not going to cure this problem forever, permanently. Like, I'm not just going to suddenly become this perfectly balanced person. I started recording this vlog back in June. It is now almost October, which is why I was like, I need to just sit down, provide a recap, and sign off. I need to finish this video because it'll go on forever. It will go on forever because this is a journey. However, I do want to touch on a couple of things that have really worked for me, and they do, I think, tie back to my original things that have worked well for me, such as going outside, exposing myself to nature more often, spending more time in silence, allowing myself to journal more frequently. I actually have been journaling like almost every single day, and I have this great journal that I just finished. I'm getting ready to start another one, and it's been years since I've been that consistent with my journaling practice, so I'm really excited to see that flourish again after so many years of being dormant. The order of operations of my routine matters significantly. I can write in the morning and then work in the afternoon just fine, but I cannot work in the morning and then write in the afternoon or the evening. Impossible. And I think a big part of that is just when I wake up in the morning, I'm feeling fully charged. I feel like I'm more inspired, I'm fresh, I haven't fatigued myself throughout the entire day, making all of these different decisions, doing all of these different things, and then sitting down at the end of the day when I'm already at like 10% battery to write, it just doesn't work for me. I've also always been a morning person, so this has always been very true about me and my writing practice. So writing in the morning every day is something that has been very important. Even on days where I feel like I have a huge workload to get to, I've just been forcing myself to at least write for 30 minutes, and that has kept up that consistency. So that's been working really well for me. So as of the last couple of weeks, my schedule has looked like me getting up early in the morning, making myself a coffee, sitting down at my desk at around 7:30, and writing until around noon. And then at noon I have lunch. I take that as sort of like my transition period, and then I get to work on editing. And you guys, this has been a game changer for me. It has just worked. It has just worked in ways that I never expected it to, because it's such a subtle shift. Now that I am actually writing every single day for several hours at a time, I am flying through these revisions and the end of the story is in sight. I'm so excited. That being said, I still have just over a week left of this month off that I've been taking from editing, and that has helped a lot. I think if you're starting to feel overwhelmed, it's sort of like lifestyle creep, but it's work-life creep, where you're just incorporating more and more things and you're adding more and more things to your to-do list that all of a sudden it's like, wow, this isn't sustainable, but I literally don't know what I have to shave off of my list in order to get back to something that's more functional. And for me, going back to brass tacks, going back to the essentials has been so integral to figuring out that balance for myself. So removing editing from my desk for a month and then just going back to brass tacks, going back to what is important to me. I need to write, I need to exercise, I need to go outside. Like we all know those random essentials that keep us going, right? Reacquainting myself with those things and having the privilege of taking a month off of work has been delightful. I did recently take on a personal client, so I do technically have an edit on my desk, which is why I can say I have learned a lot about how important it is for me to write in the morning and then edit in the afternoon, but that project is not intense. It's not a developmental edit by any means, but it's been a great way to sort of dip my toes back into this work-life balance and sort of test this new system out a little bit. But I don't know. I think I'm always going to be the kind of person who struggles with hyperfixating and going through these weird cycles of like intensely focusing on one thing and completely abandoning everything else in life. It's just the way that I've always been. Like even back in college, I don't think I ever studied except for the night before the test, and then I would study for like all night before the test. I'm sure that this will be an ongoing theme here on my channel, which brings me to sort of the outro, if you will, or the conclusion of this video. I realize I haven't like fully introduced myself, but there's not much more to say. I'm Anna. I'm a writer. I have one book published that I published myself. I'm a book editor. That's what I do. I think adjacent to all of that is that I live in a tiny house and I traveled and lived nomadically for several years. I'm now living on my own property and I plan to build a house here with my partner. That's a whole other thing. I probably will never get into that on this channel. Maybe I will, I don't know. But I do like having a few snippets of my personality show through outside of just my writing and my writing pursuits. So I think it's worth mentioning because it is kind of quirky and a little bit different. I think a lot of people are homing in on how nice it is to live in a tiny house these days. I only bring that up because I have a feeling that my next video is going to include some very light fall decorations, like tiny house edition kind of material. As a complete side note, I have found myself gravitating more and more to long form content, so YouTube, and I've been trying to push short form content out of my life as much as possible. I just don't think it's good for my brain. I don't think it's good for probably anybody's brain, but it's definitely not good for mine. I have been following a lot of people on YouTube who are documenting their writing process, their publishing process. I love those other channels too, though, that are like cozy lifestyle channels. I can tell you now that this channel will be the embodiment probably of both of those things, because those are the things that I love a lot. So just forewarning you, if you are a writer with a channel and you're documenting your writing and publishing journey, or if you are a person who has a channel that's like cozy lifestyle stuff, let me know. Like drop a comment down below because I would love to subscribe and follow you. I think that that'd be fun. I'm trying to expand my digest, if you will, of YouTube videos that I get to watch every day. Ah, it's so nice to be back on YouTube and to get off of TikTok, I swear to God. Anyway, with all of that being said, this is the end of this vlog. I wanted to thank you guys for watching this far. If you got this far, I know it's been several months all crammed into one video and there wasn't a lot of actual sit-down discussion on what was happening, but I'm new. I'm trying to still like figure out the whole structure of a video. We'll get there. I think the ultimate takeaway is just that these things take time. You don't permanently achieve balance in life. That is impossible. I don't think anybody has ever done that. But you can continue to home in on the things and the techniques that help you feel balanced or restore your balance over time. I'll see you guys next time here on my channel if you are interested in sticking around. Have a wonderful day, you guys. I love you all. Goodbye.